New York City FC defeats Chicago. Nashville beats the Red Bulls. And Charlotte, they only get 1 point off of Inter Miami in 2 matches. That's the only way on NYCFC Views.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. NYCFC Views.
Collins approaches the shot, and New York City wins the first MLS Cup on their first try, and they're going crazy. Tiene tiro y gol! Gol! New York City es el campeón de Major League Soccer.
The sickest New York City FC podcast. It's gonna be sick.
I'm Glenn Crooks, along with Roberto Abramowitz. We're your radio voices for New York City FC. And it was just 2 years ago, that MLS Cup championship, but it's becoming less likely after the result against the most recent result against DC United on the road that has put New York City on the brink. That was the intro, Roberto. 3 things have to happen or that's it. That's it. How you doing? Hey, before we get going, very cool. So as you know, but others may not, I'm actually vacationing this week, international break, and New York City's not playing during the international break, which is not always the case. But I'm in Albuquerque visiting my daughter. I was in Phoenix visiting my sister. But listen to this. I just happened to get to Albuquerque. And on Saturday, have you ever heard of this, Roberto? The annular solar eclipse. That's not annual, annular, which means they call it the Ring of Fire. So it's not a complete eclipse, but it's a very rare thing. And if you Google it, Albuquerque is the #1 place in the world to see this thing. And I'm here. So my daughter's ordered those glasses. You know, you can't look at a solar eclipse.
You can't look at it straight. Yes, right. Please don't.
Yeah, no, and we've got the glasses, and we're going to take care of it. But a celestial moment coming up on Saturday, so I'm very excited. It's given me inspiration, and it's helped offset this latest loss for New York City and where it puts them. I mean, it's I haven't thought much about it. I have to be honest with you. I haven't talked to really anybody in the club except maybe one of the guys in comms. So we're not going to be at training this week. So we'll just have to wait till next week and see how everybody's feeling. How are you feeling?
I'm fine. I'm absolutely fine. And by the way, have you checked the weather forecast? Because there's something called clouds that just may ruin your day.
It doesn't rain here. I mean, every day's the same.
It doesn't matter if it rains or not. If there are clouds in the sky, you're screwed.
No, it's supposed to be perfect. And it happens at 10:30 in the morning local time. It lasts.
Oh, that's a good time. You'll be up for like 5 hours at that point.
Yeah, well, there's this mountain range really close by. We're going to get up to 10,000 feet. Get up there around 7:30 or 8. My daughter and I, and and check this thing out with our glasses. So it's supposed to be, it's a really sensational thing that just happens every. That's the thing about these different eclipses or the. Anything that happens in the
solar
sky.
Eclipse, lunar eclipse.
Yeah, they just they're rare to get them in completion. Actually, I did find this out because I texted a friend saying I was doing this, and Paul Blodgett, who some might even know who he is that are listening to the podcast. He's the goalkeeper coach savant extraordinaire in the New Jersey, New York area, but he's very much into the stars, and he's jealous that I'm here. But he's going to be in Rochester, New York, in April 2024, and that will be a complete solar eclipse. So I don't have the exact date yet, but certainly I'll let everybody know here on NYCFC Views.
Okay. Now we're just as long as we don't start doing astrology or anything like that.
No, I don't. I'm not a believer in all the. I'm a Leo. I don't know what that means, to be honest with you, but I don't get too crazy about that. But the stars are pretty interesting, I have to say.
Well, they didn't align for New York City. I'll tell you that much.
No. Well,
and
in order to align,
the only place that they've got to look to see what went wrong is find your closest mirror, because that was their game to win. I mean, Christian Benteke didn't even play, and Benteke, when the Red Bulls came in 2 weeks before that, he had a hat trick, and they still lost 5-3. And New York City, again, with their biggest problem, not being able really to score goals. And they didn't create a hell of a lot of opportunities either. It was a very weird game. It was very disappointing to see the game. From my perspective, you would think that there would have been a sense of urgency, that New York City would have been on the front foot, that they would have been dominating and, crashing the goal and, having most of the possession and all of that, especially at the beginning of the game, showing their intention early. And I don't know, from your perspective, Glenn, and you were in the fishbowl next to mine at the goal line at Audi Field, but I didn't really see much of that, if any of it. It was disappointing.
Well, there were no, and I know the staff looks at big chances, and I remember Ronnie Dyler was the first one I really started hearing about big chances. He'd compare it to the opponent, and they would feel good about themselves if they had more of those sorts of big chances than the opponent. Even if they lost the match, they could look back and go, all right, well, here's how we can correct it. But there were no big chances compared to 3 for DC United in this one. And you know what we talked about, Roberto? I don't know if you thought about this. So Benteke, that was a very late announcement. Of course, everybody, look, we talked to a number of people, staff and players, well, not players, just staff, about Benteke. And they were, they're concerned about it. 14-goal scorer. He's tough to deal with physically. And you have 2 center backs.
In the air?
Yeah. Like the previous game that they lost in Austin, but he won, I just remember this stat, he won 6 of 7 aerial duels in that match. Got 3 of his 5 shots on goal. That's the kind of striker he is. He's tough to deal with. But there could be that when he's not in the lineup, and now Eric Hurtado is in. Eric Hurtado has had, congrats on his longevity, but he's had a pretty mediocre goal scoring as a striker career in MLS. And you wonder if there's just that little bit of let up, like that, almost like, the exit, we don't have to deal with Benteke. And look, that's you have to get inside the brains of some players for that. You'd have to do some sort of analysis that way. But we kind of thought that might have had a bit of an impact. No Benteke, now it's going to be a little easier.
I mean, at this point, every one of these games, and it has been for the past month, has really been a playoff game for New York City. And if you can't get up and be excited and be 100% motivated to go out and play these games and do your best, and somehow you find a way to relax and everything, then that's know that's not good.
But you cover
that's not good. This is in general, not just for New York City. But
you cover the NFL, and I don't know how many they play. They play 16 games now. What do they play?
Up to 17.
Okay. So in an entire year, there's 365 days a year, 17 games. And I'm sure, I know when I read after a game that a player or coach said, we weren't quite ready to play. And the first thing you can always think of is like, man, you only have 17 dates on the year to be ready to play a game. Why can't? Because that's athletics, man. So it's deeper than the actual just playing of the game, or that it's a playoff game, or you have to win in order to have a chance. All that is out there. But then there's that little thing that might, it's not an outward, hey, Benteke's not playing. Let's, it's going to be a breeze. But
I understand how that can seep in, and maybe you feel, well, it's going to be easier to defend. How does that affect your attack? How many chances did you say the team created?
Well, big chances, which is a stat that they look at, none.
Right, none. In a game that they absolutely had to win against
and that was
inferior opponent.
Yeah.
DC United is, although they're ahead of them now in the standings, but they probably shouldn't be.
Well, how about, that's pretty interesting, right? DC, if you look at the conference standings right now, they're in 9th place, which is in playoff position. And they're eliminated. But they've been eliminated for the playoffs. So you could go like, well, what's that all about? Well, it's just because they already played their decision day match was against New York City FC. They're the odd man out in a 29-team league on decision day. They will not play. So they will, mathematically, they can't finish in 9th place. But they're in 9th place right now.
Yeah. So let me get your take on all this, because you have mine. What was your take on the game, on the effort, on any way you want to measure this, what was your take on all of this?
Oh, I didn't think the first half was going particularly well, but I didn't get any sense that DC United was going to put it in the back of the net. I didn't think that, but then how do they score right before the half? Set piece. I mean, come on. So defending set pieces has clearly been the bane of New York City's existence this year. Whether they solved it along the way, midway through, or there was a string of games where it certainly had become apparent that it had been emphasized and it had been a lot of things have been corrected. But I think, do I have this right? Two of the last 3 goals, I think, have been set piece concessions. So it's really because of Miami. So the 1-1 game. So it's really that's the most distressing thing. So now you go in the locker room, you're down a goal, and it's just so that's my. I know you're looking for more from me than that. How did I feel about it? It's hard, and I'm telling you, from our vantage point, it was really hard to really see the game. To really get a sense of the game. But they got, there were. To me, it's the 2023 old problem, not creating enough chances, quality, and conceding on set pieces. And
I'm looking over here. I'm looking right now at momentum, right, which is part of what you get on FOTMob. DC United had the ball basically for the first 12 and a half minutes of the game. Then New York City had it for a little bit, and that was like 5 minutes to the 17th minute. Then New York City got it back again at like the 21st minute and gave it back up like on the 23rd. I mean, this whole first half, it's all DC United. They didn't get the ball back again until the 32nd minute, and then they gave it up in the 37th. Then they didn't have it back again.
Here's the other thing, Roberto. This is the other thing I thought of, and I've got the eclipse on my mind, so I actually I couldn't bring this up
for you
in a clear manner, but they DC United changed shape. They played a 4-3-3. They don't play a 4-3-3. They played with Benteke out of the lineup. They went to a 4-3-3. My guy Matty Lawrence, he felt that played a role in New York City not maybe sorting it out themselves enough, preparing for something different, and DC United having the advantage early on, which I think the momentum did swing. You said it was like the 13th.
Yeah, in the second half it's different. In the second half it's a situation where New York City is dominating the second half. They just they had the majority. I mean, a large majority of the ball, but their effectiveness wasn't on par. So at the end of the day, they had 53% of the ball, if that means anything to you. But expected goals, if that means anything to you, 1.56 for DC, 1.11 for New York City. New York City had more shots, 18-14, but DC had more on target, 6-5, 3-0 on the big chances, as you already mentioned. And
but that's not good. That's not good.
Nothing else that really stands out.
DC United produced more than their expected goals, and New York City underachieved in their expected goals. So that's not a good. That right there is not a good look. And look where it places them. And I don't know what's been happening in training and what they'll try to work on leading into the Chicago match at Citi Field. You play the match, you got to get the 3 points. But let's look at the other 2 games. The Red Bulls are at Nashville. I don't think Nashville has scored a goal, and it's something like 4 of their last 5 matches. It might even be worse than that. But they can't score right now. Nashville, they're in a really bad way. They're like 2-7-2 in their last 11 matches. So the Red Bulls, they're going down there and they're just going to raise hell from start to finish. And you wonder if New York City could even get that result, which needs to be a Red Bull loss. And then Charlotte against Inter Miami twice. Tata Martino has pretty much said, we're playing for next year now. So he's going to, however he constructs the team over the last 2 weeks, he's going to try to set it up as if it was kind of leading in to next season. So maybe that's good. Maybe they'll be loose. Messi will get some minutes, and it'll look a little bit like when he arrived. But Charlotte's got to.
Well, they play one of their games. So Charlotte has to play Inter Miami twice. And the first game is going to be next Wednesday. I don't know if Messi's going to be back by then from the Argentine national team, and in what shape is he going to be in, or if they decide just to shut him down. Yeah. Although I know that I just read that they're trying to plan a tour of Asia right after the season ends, so maybe he will play, because the whole point of going to Asia is the fact that Messi's playing. Nobody's interested in in Robert Taylor. Sorry to say.
What are they?
I like Robert Taylor.
What are they? The Cosmos? They're going to go do a tour of Asia?
The Galaxy did the same thing with David Beckham.
Okay. I guess it's the same.
There's a lot of interest in Beckham, in Messi in Asia. Beckham when he was playing, maybe not so much now.
So have you October the 11th? We're recording this on the 12th, right? So the Messi Meets America was dropped yesterday by Apple TV. I haven't. I'm going to try to watch
it yet.
Yeah,
I've heard very good things, but I haven't watched it. I heard great things about the Beckham one too.
Well, that just dropped also. So I've got that downloaded for the flight home, Roberto. So I'm going to watch the whole thing on the way home.
Okay.
So we'll see. That's got to be good. That's got to be good. He's. I like Beckham. I mean,
so do I. I mean, the times that I've interacted with him, he's been like such a down-to-earth, nice guy. He's amazing. He really, really is. Well, as we like to say, he's a mensch.
That's
beyond all Mexican, by the way.
Beyond all that, he almost doesn't get enough credit for the kind of, and I'm sure this is illuminated in this documentary, the kind of player he was. Not just a great player, but how tough he was, and how much of a team player he was. All those things that sometimes when you look at Beckham, because of his wife and all the glamour and glitz and all that other stuff, but man, he was a bulldozer. He's a great player, man.
And he had a lot to make up for, because remember in one of the World Cups, and I can't remember which one it was, if it was 2010 or maybe I don't think it was 2006.
I think it was 10. I think it was 10.
Where he got red carded against Argentina. Yeah. And that, that virtually cost them, advancing, or at least in England's mind, that happened. And it took a long time for him to be forgiven for that.
Well, just elsewhere in MLS, Timo Pukki. I thought I mentioned this because when we saw him in person, even though New York City lost the match 2-0, that was the first game after the Leagues Cup break. I was totally unthrilled, if that's a word, with Timo Pukki. I just thought he was all right. Well, he was the MLS Player of the Week. He scored 4 goals in a match for Minnesota. And that was against the Galaxy, which I guess took the Galaxy home as far as anything in the playoffs and all kinds of other stuff. So
first game without Adrian Heath. Don't forget that.
Oh, and first without Adrian Heath. So he was all fired up for that, I guess. I don't know what's going on.
Yes. So let's put it in context. For summer transfers especially, for most people, for most players, it takes a while to adjust to MLS and to adjust to either the physicality or sometimes the speed, faster or slower, whatever it is. It takes time to adjust to this league, adjust to your new teammates, adjust to the travel especially. There's a lot of things, and it just takes time. And we're not saying this as an excuse. It's just been proven over and over and over and over and over. But it looks like Pukki was able to get his legs under him for the game. And it was at home, where they've been horrific at home. They've been absolutely horrific at home, and they won at home.
So they keep their slim playoff hopes alive with that win. I'm not going to go into the West and try to calculate all that, but we know the East is getting a little simpler to figure out. And New York City plays Chicago. We've got that on our radio broadcast, NYCFC Network. NYCFC.com/radio. City Field. Everybody, the old odd kickoff time of 6:09. But so the games are what, at 6 and 9 p.m. East, 6 and 9.
Something like that. There's 3. The East, all the East plays at 6. The West plays at 9, And
Yeah.
I don't know if it's a 6:09 kickoff. It might be literally at 6. Who knows? I mean, we haven't gotten
Well, that's true. That's
the
true.
paperwork yet on that.
That is true. All right, so that's the MLS side of things. How about if we kick it around, Roberto? I wanted to make a quick mention about the US U23s, the Olympic team. I mean, they qualified for the Olympics with Mikey Varis. That was that U20, U23 thing happening almost simultaneously, the qualification for both. So the U23s are the Olympic team. They're in the Olympics for the first time since 2012. I think I have that right. They just beat Mexico 2-1 on Wednesday night, Roberto. I don't know if you even knew this because it was not a word
on TV.
Not a word was mentioned anywhere. It wasn't on a stream.
Well, actually,
or TV
I will disagree with that. That game was supposed to be on FS1, and then I read that it was supposed to be on VIX or something like that. I forget if it was VIX or maybe Peacock, Telemundo. It was up on one of the streamers in Spanish. That was supposed to happen, or maybe it was VIX because the Mexican national team was there. But as far as I know, and as far as I read, at the end, it wasn't anywhere, and the only thing to do was follow it on Twitter Live. It was at the Phoenix Rising Stadium.
Right.
But the U.S. won 2-1.
They won 2-1. And it's a U23. It's an interesting whole setup because, they've got guys like Balleroon, Reina, and Musa, who, none of them are going to play, but if they had everybody on board, they'd win the gold medal. Good chance.
They have U.S. is loaded with good young players. Benka Kramaski is on the U.S. Olympic team. So I didn't get a chance to see if he played or not, but he's on that team.
Yeah, I did not see it. That's our friends at I'll thank Soccer America for updating me on that this morning, just opening up my email. USA Germany coming up, which
I'll be there.
And you'll be there. Oh, you're going to East Hartford?
I'll be there.
Oh.
I'm going to East Hartford. I'm going tomorrow.
We'll talk about it.
Making a stop off in Bristol to have lunch with a friend, and then so I'll be leaving here somewhere around 1:00. Eat lunch from 3 to 4, and then East Hartford is like about 25 minutes up the road or east of there.
Where can people on Twitter follow? Follow your thoughts about it or what?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll be tweeting a lot about it, I'm sure, or X, whatever it is. Yep, mostly in Spanish, probably, but I don't know. I'll see. Maybe I'll do something bilingual. Who knows?
Right. Well,
it depends. It's just like a feel thing. If I feel like ranting in English or in Spanish.
Well, I think it's I'm not going to be able to watch it live, and I'll just have to watch it when I get home. But I'm kind of interested.
Why can't you watch it live?
Because I'm going to be hiking. Where am I going to be? I'm going to be somewhere hiking. So, and out in the wilderness. That's why
It's
what
a
I
night
do.
Game.
Huh?
You're hiking at night?
It's a night game. I'm in Albuquerque. There's a time difference.
I'm sure they have internet. Yeah, we're watching you.
I'm not gonna carry my iPad and watch the damn game while I'm hiking.
What, your phone isn't good enough?
No,
you can watch it on your phone.
I'm not interested in that game on that day. I'm focused on my daughter and hanging out. What's wrong with you? Anyway,
trust me, my son would trade me in for a Giants game or a Man United game, like that.
Well, I was playing Little League when my sister got married, and I remember telling her, I said, if you schedule the wedding on a day that I'm playing a game, I won't be at your wedding. So just if you want to consider that, go ahead. If not, whatever. I understand all that stuff.
Does she remember who you are since you haven't spoken to her since that day?
No, I just visited her. She welcomed me into her house.
Okay.
I guess everything's okay.
I guess you've been forgiven.
Yeah, I guess I've been forgiven. All right, what else do I have here? There was an interesting story that I wanted to relate. Well, you had something you wanted to say about. Why don't we bring that up and maybe we'll close with that.
This wasn't for the kicking around segment, but we went there early. So, but all right. So let me see where I have this.
Okay.
So there's a little bit of a snag in the New York City FC stadium situation. And the problem is that the president of of Queensborough, the Queensborough president, Donovan Richards, who's a supporter of the stadium, by the way, is a big supporter of the stadium, is now using that as a bargaining chip to try to get the Adams administration to reinstate a popular street vendor market that's in Corona Plaza. Now, I haven't visited, so I don't know where that is or, what's going on over there, but it seems like during the summer, the sanitation department, police department came and raided the area and got rid of all the street vendors that were in that area. As far as I understand, and, having read on the Gothamist, was that a lot of the store owners in the area thought that was eating into their business, was becoming a blight, that there was a lot of garbage. And so they took them all away. And so now, a lot of those people, make their livelihoods selling there. And now they're asking them to apply for licenses, yet there aren't enough licenses in the city because the city hasn't, I'm thinking the word in Spanish, damn it. Hasn't elevated the number of, when you speak two languages, they sort of get confused.
No,
they haven't increased. That's the word that I'm looking for. They haven't increased the number of licenses that they give out for street vendors and food vendors and things like that. And so they're like none available. And so now they've sort of drawn their, line in the sand, and they're not going to give the okay to continue, with all the things, the ERLOP process and all of this until he gets his way and gets the city to relent and to allow at least some of the street vendors to be able to go back. Now, the next meeting is in 4 days on the 16th to be able to do this, because the first meeting, which was last week, nobody was, there were reasons that it wasn't ready. And so now they're going on to the 16th, which is the next meeting. And so we'll see what happens if anything gets fixed then. If it doesn't, then I don't know how far down the line it goes, and if that starts affecting the timeline of when the stadium starts being built, if everything gets approved. So, there's a lot at play over here. At the end of the day, I don't think, and people that I've spoken to that, have a good sense of New York City politics and all that, that if this is really the biggest hurdle that New York City has to jump over to get this stadium done, it's not going to be a major problem. But for now, it's a problem. And they, they got to figure out how to get, it's nothing New York City really can do. This is a battle between the Queensborough president and the city mayor. And they've got to basically get together and figure this out and try to come to some sort of an agreement. And then, everything, all the support towards the stadium goes back to where, everybody's on the same page.
Well, I have a very specific question, which I don't know if you have the answer for, but when you talked about the number of licenses, there's a cutoff to the number of street vendor licenses that the city of New York will permit. So if that's the case, then it seems like there has to be another layer of approval. That is the approval of more licenses for these vendors to be licensed in this area. So if that's the case, to me, that's like another step that has to be taken.
I'm sure that there are ways of getting around that, either temporary licenses or just increasing it if they want to. I don't know what the process 100% is, but the number of licenses and permits to legally be able to sell in the city has been limited really for decades. So, and then, there's been all sorts of delays, of people trying to get that expanded. So, but look, politics are politics, and you can make arrangements and you can make deals, and maybe you can make, temporary licenses. I don't know. Or maybe they can give them an exception for X amount of time. I mean, that's going to be between Donovan and Adams, and let them figure it out. But Jesus Christ, I mean, this is a multi-billion-dollar project that includes housing, schools, all sorts of things that area needs and needs desperately. And this can't really be like a huge holdup where this is going to delay this for months or years or anything like that. It'd be insane. Then again, politics in New York and all over the country can be insane. So let's see how this plays out.
So I wanted to, you're friendly with Efrain Juarez, who's now with Ronnie Dyla at Club Rouge. And I am as well, but not to the same extent. You guys have those Spanish conversations that I can't take part in. But so he's the former New York City
assistant. We keep you out of it, Glenn. We keep you out of it.
The former, I'm sure, the former New York City assistant under Ronnie Dyla in New York, and now at Club Rouge in Belgium. So I'm in a country bar, really nice, with my sister in Phoenix, and it's a guy on stage with the open windows in the back. It really reminded me of Broadway in Nashville. And he had this big tip jar up there, a big can with tips on it. And you could Venmo him. This is incredible, man. You can Venmo tips to people to make requests. I suppose that's...
Yes, you can.
That's probably everywhere now. But again, I'm, I don't get out much.
Yeah,
So
slow on the uptake.
It was a fun night. But I requested Whiskey Lullaby by Brad Paisley. And the reason I did that was in honor of Ronnie Dyla. For when he was in Nashville coaching New York City FC, the day after one of the games, that Broadway strip, it's just bar after bar after bar after, I don't know how many there are. There's 20, 25. So he went into every one and put $20 in the tip jar and asked them to play Whiskey Lullaby. So in honor of Ronnie Dyla, so I filmed it. I sent it to Ephraim because I still have an occasional text with him. And he shared it with Ronnie this morning. He said Ronnie got a big kick out of it, really enjoyed it, was thankful that we still remember those guys. Of course we remember them. We remember them all. Dome Turan is apparently a candidate in Portland, according to Tom Bogert, as a former New York City guy. I wonder if he'll I don't know what role he'll play in that process, or
And you wonder if what's going to happen in Austin, if Josh Wolf is going to stay beyond this year, and if he's going to become a candidate there as their symmetry ex-Man City man there.
Now here, I'm on vacation, and I feel like I'm out of it. Josh Wolf has already been re-upped. You missed that one.
I did.
Yeah, he got re. I think for 2 years. I think it's a 2-year deal. I think. But I know he's re-upped. He'll be back next year.
Oh, wow. I really did miss that. How did that happen?
Your friend Ariel, your broadcast partner, put it in our group text, and you missed it.
Wow. I feel bad. I feel shame.
That's all right. It's okay. So, and then as far as what else do we know? Patrick and Christian out there at Strasbourg, they're still in the middle of the pack. And Jason Kreis is a free agent. For the update of the former New York City FC coaches, Nick Cushing, current coach, he's got a big match obviously coming up a week from Saturday at Citi Field, and let's see what happens. I mean, things will have to happen in order to get into the postseason, but those days are crazy, so you never know how it'll be, Roberto, right?
Yeah, I know. I've been doing like all Jets all week, as there's been no New York City, so I guess I've missed that. There's so much to read on the Jets every day for those games. So
don't worry about it.
It's crazy.
I guess the thing to
and
really
your Jets won, by the way, the last game. You should be happy.
I watched it in Phoenix at I wish I could remember the name of the pub. It was really a cool place, outdoor, indoor. Every game in the NFL was on, and I got a seat for the Jet game, beating the Broncos on the road. Man, that's awesome. But what I was going to say is, I guess we should make it very clear that New York City could well go into that Chicago match, I guess, right? If Charlotte wins the midweek match against Miami, that's it. Because Charlotte can only get 1 point total out of those two games, or New York City's done.
It's done. You can put a fork in them.
All right, well, we know who to root for on when. And that's another former New York City assistant, Christian Latanzio, who's guiding and managing Charlotte. So they're all over the place. All right, man.
Absolutely.
It's going
to be a crazy week. I hope decision day means something for New York City, because that would be fun. If it does, they still won't have their, they still won't be able to have everything in hand as far as, on their own, because they still have to wait to see what Miami and Charlotte do on that day as well. But, here's hoping that if Charlotte ties or Miami wins, and the game might mean something for New York City. They'd have to win and wait for Miami to win or tie, depending on what happened the game before, for that last game for Charlotte.
Right. Well, but
and also Red Bull in Nashville.
Yeah. Well, the cool part is all those games are on at the same time, I think. It's at Nashville.
Yes.
It's at Nashville. So does that mean it's a 9 o'clock game? It might be. I don't even know. So
I think that's a 6 o'clock game. That should be a 6 o'clock game.
Right.
I mean, they're fighting for everything in the East. Well, what's the point of that?
There is no point.
And they're in the East too.
It's no fun. That's true. They're in the East. I forgot they were only in the West 1 year. So I forgot
they just loaned them to the West for a year, and then St. Louis came in, and so
all right, man.
Here.
Well, we won't promote our broadcast since we don't have one this weekend. Go Jets. They got to beat the Eagles. That would be fun. And outside of that, I'm just going to be remember that keep me in mind when the annular solar eclipse takes place on Saturday at 10:30 a.m. Mountain Time. I guess that's 12:30 Eastern Time. And just send the positive vibes out here that the sun is shining bright, so I can see the sun.
I hope you're able to watch it and enjoy it and don't go blind. So
I won't go blind.
I hope for all of that. By the way, your Jets are 0-12 against the Eagles lifetime.
That's excellent. They're due.
Just thought you should know that. And the Eagles are 5-0 so far.
No, they've looked. I've seen that. I've seen that. All right.
Yeah.
Well, Roberto, good
Behind
stuff.
San Francisco, second best team in the league right now.
All right. Well, we got Sammy,
Hope
our
for a
producer.
miracle.
Sammy, thank you. For Roberto Abramowitz, I'm Glenn Crooks on NYCFC Views.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast NYCFC Views on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.